So I've been making some bourbon barrel bars or barrel display cabinets, bourbon barrel, whiskey barrel display cabinets out of reclaimed whiskey barrels for the past several years. And I'm pretty much coming to an end of it for myself. So I thought I'd make a video on what I've done in the past and give you guys kind of a step-by-step run over on what I do to make the barrels. So start with the barrels. They're 53-gallon wooden barrels. Actually, the drier the barrel, the better. So if you have one that's freshly dumped and it's still very wet inside, that's going to cause you some problems. The wood actually shrinks as it dries out, so it's preferred to get an older barrel that's already dried out a bit to do this, or at least get an area cut open and let them breathe up a little bit so they dry out, especially on the inside, before you start messing with them. First thing I do when I'm looking at the barrel is I go around and I start looking at staves. Sometimes the staves have some big breaks in them and stuff like that. So I'll go around, I'll look, and if there's some big breaks in a stave, usually that's the staves that I'm going to cut open and make my opening for the display cabinet. Right off the bat, I go through and I snug up all the metal bands just by tapping them down. After that's done, I go through and I find my openings. On this barrel in particular, I just mark it with some X's here, so I know that's the last stave for the opening. I got a big X right here that I've drawn. That's going to be the big opening, and then I come around and I mark the other side up with some X's here. Again, that's just my notification. That'll be the last stave I cut out. After I figure that out, then I start drilling and screwing the bands. So just on the outside of what's going to be the opening is I've drilled a 5/32 inch hole, and I will go through and I'll put a screw in each band all the way down. And I do that in 4 places around the barrel. So we go on that side, the opening, we'll go on this side on the opening, and then I'll pretty much just kind of draw an imaginary line, split the difference, and I'll go 2 more on the back. So it's 4 lines of screws. Every band down the barrel gets a screw. And speaking of screws, 6 screws, I believe, 32 or 36 screws you'll need for 1 barrel. Speaking of tools and stuff you're going to need, talked about knocking down the bands. I actually had a blacksmith make me a cooperage tool. It's an octagon. I've pretty much beat the heck out of that head, but it's got a wide blade. He actually made this to me. It's offset, and I can go around my barrels and tap them down, and then I can also, it's curved to match the barrel, so it sets on that band real good, and then smack it with a hammer. When you're putting the metal bands down, you're not beating them down real hard. All you're doing is snugging them up. Okay, so we've snugged up the barrel. We figured out where our opening is going to be. Oh, speaking about the opening, on the staves, as you can see, like this stave right here is only about 1 inch long. I never put a small stave at the end as my last stave. I always pick a stave that is at least 1.5 inches, preferably 2 inches wide or wider. Say for like instance, this stave here. As you can see, this one's coming out. The stave next to it is going to be the last stave that stays, and we're talking about 2 3/4 inches there. And I'll show you why here in just a minute. So we've figured our opening. We've got our bands snugged down. We've got our bands, metal bands, screwed, drilled and screwed. Next thing we can do is cut the openings. So to cut the openings, swing over here, I take this tool and I come around to the band here. Now a lot of people will just take a jigsaw and they'll just come through here and they'll follow the metal band. But the metal bands aren't always equal, so they get a wavy cut. I personally don't like that. What I'll do is take this tool here, come around, find the lowest part of the band, and usually come about 1/8 to 1/4 inch below the band. Running the tool along the top, scribing it with a pencil, I'll come around from my last stave, walk it around. I do that on the top, I do that on the bottom, make a nice pencil line, then come through and drill a hole in one of your staves, get your jigsaw in there, and then just take your jigsaw and cut all the way through the edge, coming right up to your last whole stave. For cutting the bands here, I'll come in approximately 4 to 4.5 inches from the opening, and I'll cut the band just with a cutoff wheel. I use a DeWalt 4 1/4 cutoff wheel. You can use a pneumatic wheel. You could even use a sawzall or a jigsaw with an appropriate blade. And then I'll cut the opening open. That's after that's done, I take the cutoff wheel and I round off the edges, clean up any burrs so there's nothing sharp or metal before I fold them over and screw them. Now I mentioned I don't like to have little staves, and that's because I'll wrap this band. So my next course of action right now is to take this and I will beat this band around, wrapping the inside, bringing it back to the inside of the barrel here, and then I will drill a hole and do another rock 1-inch pan head screw. Again, those screws I get off of Amazon. Buy them in packs of 100. They are okay. 1-inch pan head screws, coarse thread. They have a nice clean look to them. I've seen a lot of guys use hex head self-tappers, and they'll go through and they'll put them all over the barrel. They're usually not in line. They're wavy as they drill them in haphazardly. I don't particularly care for that. I found that just one all the way down, doing a minimum of 4 to 6 screws evenly spaced around the barrel so far, that does a good job. So we've got them cut open now. Today is actually my dirty day, is what I call it. I am going through here, gloves. This is a new dust mask, and I've only done, I think 2.5 barrels so far. They get dirty real fast. A stiff wired brush, and you're going into the barrel and you're scraping all this black, and you'll end up with just a pile of soot. Scrape the head up top, all the way around, scrape the opening, come down all the walls, the bottom. Once that's done, flip the barrel on its side and you can roll it out, kind of dump out as much of the sawdust as you can. Once that step is done, I clean up my floor, my mess, shop vac. Next tool is a shop vac, and I use this attachment. And I will go through, and then using this with the shop vac running, I will rerun all the inside of the barrel, tops, bottoms, and all that, picking up any leftover char residue. All right, so you got the barrel to this point, you're cut open. We've scoured out the inside of the barrel, vacuumed out the inside of the barrel. We beat the bands around, drilling and putting one screw in the band. Now we get to the blocks for the glass, how we mount our glass shelf in the middle of it. The staves you cut out, you're going to end up with a pile of staves here. So some of the staves you took out, get you about a 2.5-inch wide stave, and then I use a chop saw, cut you down into about a 3-inch block. I've already got a few blocks cut up here ready to go. After you get that done, take your block, you're going to drill 2 screw holes in it, and then I use a little counter ream to ream out the screw hole, and use a 1.5-inch black drywall type screw. I got one right here. That's going to go into your ream pocket and get screwed into the barrel. We put one block on the outside edge. Sorry, getting a little closer. On the outside edge here. Then using a 2-foot level, we go from that block. It's going to be kind of hard, tricky. Hold the camera, hold that. So we'll put the 2-foot level on that. We'll go to the back of the barrel. We'll put one block straight back center, screwed in. And then your third block, again, using the 2-foot level over here on this side. And screwing that in. Just inset, maybe a 1/4 inch or so from the lip. If you have to, if one of your screw holes is going to end up on a stave seam, then you can move it in or out as needed for your barrel. Switching over to the countersink bit. Just countersinking the holes so it's nice and neat for the screws. So now take your blocks, go from the bottom of the barrel up to top of the block. Try to get a good photo there. I'm right about 18 inches. Screw that block in. Don't get a screw on the line. Make sure you're in the meat of the wood. After that block is set, take a 2-foot level, set it on the corner of the block, and you're just eyeballing back straight center. Using your 2-foot level, come level, screw your block in, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to do the other side. Before you set that one, put a tape measure on it and just verify again the same distance from the bottom to the top of the block, and screwing that in. And then I inset them here about a 1/4 inch on each side. Again, just making sure I don't set a screw into this groove. I want it in the meat of the wood. So, and that's going to be where your shelf will mount. Come up in sideways and it'll set down. All right, when we get down to the opening here, I don't like the sharp edges on the barrels, so I run a 3-inch belt grinder. I just run around, now hit the outside edges of the barrel. Okay, the next step in the process, we got our opening sanded smooth. I'm getting ready to install the lights. First thing I do is drill a hole down low in the back of the barrel. I use a, Freya, get out of here. I use a 3/8 inch drill bit, and I come back just a little over a foot, about 16 inches, maybe 18 inches, right in this area. I'll go just above the lower metal band. I'll go in and I'll drill down at a slight angle. And that's going to be where the power cord comes out of the barrel. And there'll be a little remote switch here with a dimmer for the control of the lights. I've tried several light kits. This is the one I found that works best. It's eshine. They're out of Florida. They also sell on eBay. It's a black 3-light LED puck kit. They're also dimmable. They're 110, not battery powered. I don't really care for the battery powered ones. In the kit, you got 3 lights, and you're going to have this plug. Now, we already drilled our holes. We showed that. This is just going to poke through the hole. And you're simply going to stick that in with some 3M sticky tape. You have some buttons here. That's going to control your power and your dimming. Next on the kits, I've already installed 2 of the lights. This is the last one left. You spin the bezel off. Grab your included screws in the kit. Now the light on each side, there's 3 lights, is going to go just inside, past the mounting puck our mounting block we've already mounted previously, just behind it and a little bit down. We got to account for space for the glass shelf that's getting ready to be installed. Get that screwed in. It does not have to be really tight. If you do too tight, it'll warp the lens and then the cap won't screw back on. So just snug. Take your lens, your bezel, screw that on, and you're done. There's 3 lights. You're going to have one here, again, just behind and below the block. Another one here. Your third one is up here. Easiest way to staple these wires up is just crawl in the barrel. Stretch your wire up. Just using a T150 staple. Staple your wiring around as you go, all the way around and back towards the end. When you get up in here, there's just a little male and female plug. Plug goes in. Lastly, you're going to come down here to the bottom and make your final connection right down here, leaving yourself enough wire on the downward leg of that wire. Again, stapling that down. And we're going to make the wire, we staple it up against the wall. There's going to be a Lazy Susan in here, and you got to move it over to the wall to make sure you have room for that Lazy Susan base. Now here's your finished product. This one I've already got completed. It's plugged in, it's ready to go. Hit your button. You have your LED lights come on. When your glass is in there, your bottles will really light up, and it's dimmable. Just hitting your button. You can dim the light up and down to your setting, shut it off, turn it on, and it will save wherever you stop. Thanks, dogs.